This game was definitely worth waiting for. I'm okay. Hello, welcome. I'm sure all of you are excited to play Wuthering Waves, but anyway, that's not what you're here for though. You're here for this. Let's begin. First off, if you're familiar with other open world titles like Breath of the Wild, Tower Fantasy, Jak and Daxter, and games like that, you are definitely familiar with the handy dandy gadget wheel. In Wuthering Waves, this thing is just as responsive and intuitive as the combat or movement in the game. It makes comboing, traversing terrain, or just general travel feel worthwhile and rewarding. Now, before we go into detail about what people probably consider to be the most practical and fun usage of the tool system, let me first congratulate and applaud Wuthering Waves for doing what others would genuinely probably consider to just be the bare minimum. Yes, they actually made the tools accessible from the main gameplay screen. Need to swap to the scanner because there's a quest or a point of interest? Just press tab. But Connor, that's so basic. Why are you overhyping this very simple and intuitive feature? Yes, unlike the rest of civilization that forgot how to be human, Wuthering Waves actually has beta testers that are playing the game and developers that understand that having to wait between loading screens detracts from immersion and overall enjoyment when you have to constantly wait for something to load. From what I've gathered thus far, the main and most prominent use of the exploration tool system comes from the grappling hook and grappling point system. And if it wasn't abundantly clear before, being able to swing from point A to point B is great for saving time and is also just a nice change of pace from having to scale vertically by jumping and I know I've been hyping up the tool system, and honestly, it deserves it. But this is just a closed beta, so we probably haven't gotten far enough by the recording of this video to actually know if swapping between tools is super common. However, I can't imagine that this wouldn't eventually become handy in the future. Next, we have Echoes, or as I like to call it, Pokemon Simulator. Echoes, if you aren't familiar with them, are Wuthering Waves artifact and gear equivalent. They provide stats, set bonuses, and also actually double as collectible summons that aid you in battle after you've collected them as drops from monsters or bosses, etc, etc. Now, Echoes at a glance seem to just be nothing more than gear when you look at them in your inventory, but a few specific details about the Echoes actually just put other systems and modern gachas to shame. For starters, all Echoes belong to a set that provide a certain bonus, yes, but also belong to a certain bestiary collection family thing too. Again, this may seem like a small detail, but Wuthering Waves combining the artifact set aspect of building characters in gacha games with the hunting log really just sends the system to the moon. Not only do you appeal to and satisfy your desire to catch them all, you also potentially gain better stats and cool monsters at the same time. On the topic of fights, I would be lying if I didn't say that 99% of the reason why I had any interest or even found out about Wuthering Waves was because of the cool boss fighting trailer that we saw a little while ago, maybe a month ago or something at this point. And as we move on to the third best feature of Wuthering Waves, I just have to level with you guys for a second. I could point out the hundreds of fights in other gacha games that lack any depth or any real pizzazz, but seriously, I don't even think a fight in any other gacha could begin to rival the feeling of parrying a boss in true Dark Souls style and going to town on them after you punish their attack. Furthermore, the game is not just parry simulator. From the few bosses we've seen, many if not all of them possess attack patterns or unique mechanics that do require thought to handle. The Inferno Rider fight, for instance, begins on a motorcycle with quick dashes, charges, and sweeps. However, if you manage to parry the bike as it tries to run you over, the fight changes and you knock the rider off of his motorcycle, entering a more stationary and manageable phase. Now, I know I just joked a little bit about parrying simulator, but I do want to say that being rewarded for knowing a fight inside and out or having a meaningful edge against your opponent when you know their attack pattern feels so good. This kind of counts as Wuthering Waves' third and a half best feature, but I mean seriously. Earlier, I also mentioned that the exploration tool and gadget menu felt great to use and accentuated open world exploration. But the world itself is also just kind of ridiculous. Okay, I know what you're thinking. The game looks pretty standard in terms of what's available on the map, what mobs are available to kill, what overworld bosses you can farm or fight. But Wuthering Waves provides you with collectibles on the map that give you pulls. The map is specifically designed to let you fly, grapple, and jump around like you're Batman. You can farm bosses or mobs infinitely. More on this later. Before I even get into how genuinely beautiful the environment is, I would just like to say that there are just so many features in the overworld that allow you to immerse yourself as a hopping, skipping, jumping, badass resonator. And in a sentence, Wuthering Waves simply gets what it means to be a satisfying open world exploration game. Speaking of the environment, I've definitely heard discussion about having a likeness to Genshin or Tower of Fantasy, or that the game seems less colorful than other titles, but I genuinely appreciate the decision to mix up the environment themes while still managing to keep an appropriate tone for the story. No spoilers here. The game has a generally dark and more serious theme that is reflected by its environment and enemies, but that doesn't stop the game from being genuinely pretty or colorful when it needs to be. Altogether, I definitely think it could have fallen into the trap of being unnecessarily grim or bleak, but I think Wuthering Waves does a great job in breathing life into parts of the environment when appropriate. And finally, what I consider to be tied for Wuthering Waves' best feature is its gearing and character building system. This is probably what people will spend most of the game focused on and researching, so I'm happy to announce that the system is very intuitive. As I mentioned before, the Echoes all have set bonuses and random substats associated with them, but there is something very special and unique, and honestly cool, that makes me think gearing and upgrading characters in Wuthering Waves is one of its best features. And that is when it comes to farming for artifact sets, you can farm infinitely for the perfect Echo without paying any energy cost or needing to pray to God that the substats you get are useful. No longer will you have to sit in domains or sit and farm as you see all of this fucking garbage in your inventory. After you've taken care of the RNG aspect of gearing a character, you'll also be happy to hear that the weapons in Wuthering Waves have no RNG, and that the remaining two parts of customizing a character are very straightforward. There's a pretty simple skill tree that gives stats, increases the damage dealt by certain skills, and a familiar passive skill. And in case there are people who watch this that are whales, there are benefits to pulling multiple copies of a character in the form of resonance chains. When you pull a character, you gain these wave bands that can then be used to upgrade character stats and eventually transform or significantly improve skills to be much more powerful. Typical gacha. Anyways guys, that's gonna be it for this Wuthering Waves closed beta video. I hope you enjoyed, because god damn I did. If you'd like, you can check me out on Twitch, where I'm probably dying waiting for this game to come out. But otherwise, make sure to like, comment, turn the notification bell, and subscribe if you enjoyed content like this. I genuinely hope this game comes out soon, because holy shit.